solve problems early. Today on Fortitude Through Stoicism, and this is my 365-day journey of implementing the ancient philosophy of Stoicism into the life of this modern masculine man. Solve problems early. Amen. So, quote from Seneca: There is no vice which lacks a defense. None that at the outset isn't modest or easily intervened. But after this, the trouble spreads widely. If you allow it to get started, you won't be able to control it when it stops. Every emotion is weak at first. Later, it rouses itself and gathers strength and moves along. It's easier to slow it down than it is to supplant it. So, there's a lot here, but let's just do some general references, right? Let's use taxes. If you overdue taxes and you don't pay them on time, what happens? Interest and penalties, and the longer that problem persists, the bigger it grows. Cancer. Man, if you catch it right there, easier to treat. Stage 4, stage 5, nice knowing you. Conversations. Somebody says something and we don't address it immediately. It builds resentment, anger, frustration. And so then every little thing becomes this big mountain when you could have addressed it right off the rip. It may have been a misunderstanding. Like most people, is probably an assumption gone wrong. Rivers are easiest to cross at their source. That's what Seneca means here. The raging waters and deadly currents of bad habits, ill discipline, chaos, and dysfunction, somewhere they began no more than a mere trickle. Somewhere they began as a placid lake or nice crystal clear pond, or even just a bubbling spring underground, a trickle that turns into a raging river. Which would you rather do? Cross it in the rapids or step across on a little spring? This reminds me of a quote. The chains of habit are too weak to be felt until they're too strong to be broken. If you have one cigarette, there's a good chance that you could stop yourself before you have a second cigarette. If you smoke for a year, that battle is going to be a lot harder. So then let's look at our life. And again, this is something that, let me tell you real world scenarios. And again, I'm just drawing correlations to my life. Remember, this is me implementing this philosophy. And again, I'm realizing that much of who I am, I already followed a lot of these principles and values. So a lot of this is sharpening the stone in certain areas. The problem solving, this has been my thing. I am a problem solver by nature. So I do very, very high level negotiations in consulting. My responsibility is to open these consulting projects. Many of them are $250,000 plus projects. And for a very small business who hasn't made money in 3 years, that is a crazy amount of money. So through this process, I need to build commitment. I need to build urgency. Every little body language nuance I have to address, because if I don't, that could come up later in the process and bite me and take me down. So if I say something and I see a body language shift or eye twitch or some kind of movement or a closing of the body space or some kind of read or an energy shift, I have to address that thing. What and how questions. What do you think about that? How does that make you feel? A couple easy ones. Get some talking, very broad-based. You could also use labeling. Sounds like that's pretty painful. So the reason why I suggest solving all these problems early is because if you don't, they don't typically go away. Time does not solve problems. Action solves problems. The longer we wait, the bigger the problem begins. Everywhere in life, financial, physical, think about this. I can eat one cookie today and go back to my clean eating, exercising, no issues. And I can say, man, that wasn't, can't go down that path. But if I start eating cookies every single night, one, it's going to become a habit. Two, I'm going to really, really like that. And because that lack of discipline is going to gain steam, it's going to get rooted in my habits. It'll become a lot harder to not only stop that behavior, but also reverse the effects of that behavior. Most people avoid confrontation and conflict. There's two different things. Confrontation and conflict are different. Most people avoid both. But we have to confront every single problem head on. It will not go away, and it will only become much more difficult. So on that, I'm going to go solve some problems.